Adil A was a young man with a dream. Growing up in the vibrant Old West district of Amsterdam as part of a Moroccan family, he had always been drawn to the exciting world of kickboxing. He trained hard and competed in countless galas, his sights firmly set on becoming a professional kickboxer. But as fate would have it, Adil's path took a darker turn. In December of 2008, he was sentenced to 6 long years in prison for multiple armed robberies and an attempted kidnapping in The Hague. He was released early, but under strict conditions that included wearing an ankleband and being placed under electronic supervision. However, Adil's rebellious spirit could not be contained for long. In the early days of 2012, he took matters into his own hands and single-handedly cut off his ankleband, disappearing from the radar of the police and justice system. A few months later, Adil and 2 others tried to kidnap a man in The Hague after a drug-related fallout. The attempt fails and Adil flees back to Amsterdam. But that did not go to plan. Adil got caught in alcohol control by the police and decides to escape. A motor agent of the police goes on pursuit and cut him off. Adil drove in on the agent, who pulled out his gun and fired several shots on Adil, who eventually managed to escape. From there, Adil began a new chapter of his life as a hitman for the notorious Gwinnett Martha's organization. Following in the footsteps of his best friend Anur Ben Hadi, he quickly made a name for himself as a ruthless enforcer. The world of organized crime was a dangerous one, and tensions between rival factions were always high. In this volatile landscape, Adil found himself embroiled in a deadly feud between his boss, Gwinnett Martha, and Banouf Adoui, one of their bitter enemies. The stakes were high, and the consequences of failure were severe. In the midst of this deadly game of cat and mouse, Adil's actions would have far-reaching consequences. The death of Najib Boubou, a key member of Gwinnett Martha's organization, would lead to a chain of events that would shake the criminal underworld to its core. To avenge the death of Najib Boubou, Adil and his childhood friend Anur Ben Hadi got ordered to make a hit on Banouf Adoui. It was a cold December evening in Amsterdam, just before the highly anticipated New Year's Eve celebrations. However, the festive atmosphere was shattered by an unprecedented display of violence that left the city reeling in shock and disbelief. It all started in the Staatsliedenbert, where 21-year-old Saeed El Yazidi and 28-year-old Youssef Elkorf were brutally gunned down in cold blood.
Hij stapt uit, loopt er naartoe en het gevoel alsof hij zijn hele magazijn leegvuurde boven die jongen. Dus die staat boven hem vol te pompen met lood, om het zo uit te drukken.
As Adil and Anur made their escape, they fired indiscriminately at anything in their path, including 2 motorcycle cops who miraculously survived the hail of bullets. Prime target Banouf Adoui managed to escape. The aftermath was nothing short of chaos, with bullet holes riddling houses, cars, and even a child's room.
Ja, hier. Het is hier dichtgekit en eigenlijk had ik dat ooit eens moeten gaan verven. Daar is hij overheen gegaan.
It was a miracle that no innocent victims were killed in the crossfire. The next day, the mayor of Amsterdam, Eberhard van der Laan, described the incident as reminiscent of the Wild West, and warned that the city was facing a new generation of ruthless criminals who had no qualms about using heavy firearms. The tragic events of that night would mark the beginning of a dark chapter in Amsterdam's history, as the Staatsliedenbert became a hotbed of violence and gang-related activity in the years that followed. It was a stark reminder that even in a city known for its liberal and laid-back atmosphere, danger could lurk around every corner. The streets of Amsterdam were still reeling from the shock of the double liquidation in the Staatsliedenbert when the police made their first major breakthrough in the case. A suspect had been identified, Adil, who was 24 years old at the time. The arrest team was waiting for Adil on the Van Halstraat, close to the spot where the Wild West shooting had taken place. When Adil spotted them, he made a break for it, leading the police on a short and dramatic chase through the city streets. But his luck ran out when he collided with a lamppost and several parked cars on the Bijskade. Desperate to escape, Adil made a bold move and plunged into the icy waters of the Koostverlarenvaart. He emerged on the other side, but the police were hot on his heels. They fired several warning shots, but Adil paid them no heed. It was only when the arrest team opened fire and shot him down that they were able to take him into custody. The subsequent house searches at various locations turned up a veritable arsenal of automatic firearms, ammunition, and bulletproof vests, all of which were damning evidence of Adil's involvement in the violent crime spree that had rocked the city. The court's verdict was swift and damning. Although the attempted murder of the motorcycle police officers could not be proven beyond doubt, the court found Adil A. guilty of attempted manslaughter and other charges related to the violent crime spree that had terrorized Amsterdam. The court was convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that Benouf A. had identified Anur B. as the co-passenger in the Audi RS4, the very same car that unleashed a barrage of bullets on him. Benouf A. had reiterated this statement a whopping 16 times, leaving no room for ambiguity. The court, however, did not solely rely on Benouf A.'s testimony. It also incorporated technical evidence into its decision-making process. The presence of glass particles and DNA of both the suspects on critical pieces of evidence corroborated the eyewitness account and provided irrefutable proof of their involvement. The suspects, meanwhile, attempted to refute the charges by presenting alibis and alternative scenarios, but the court found them to be unconvincing and hence, dismissed them outright. In an incredible turn of events, the court was able to ascertain that the Audi's windshield was shot from the co-passenger seat, leading to glass particles getting lodged in a shoe, which was later discovered in the garden shed of Anur B.'s wife. Furthermore, a balaclava found in a safe house in the Van Hogendorpstraat, where Anur B. frequently slept, also had traces of the same glass particles. These findings were a damning indictment of the suspects' culpability. Adding further to their woes, a mobile phone used by Adil A. was found to have been turned off during the shooting but was subsequently turned on after the suspects had disembarked from the Audi on Bok de Korverweg in New West. The phone's signal was then traced to a cell tower in the same area, adding another piece to the puzzle and strengthening the case against the suspects. Adil A. and his childhood friend Anur B. were eventually sentenced to life in prison. This was the story of Adil A. Thank you for watching and I see you in the next video.